So this is the Facilities Committee meeting Monday, September the 8th, 6:07. And this is our second regular meeting. Normally we are hoping to have these meetings on the first Monday following the regular board meeting, but that would have put us meeting on Labor Day, and so we have it on the second meeting. But we'll hopefully catch up and get in sync with that. I didn't bring an agenda this time. I kind of have one in my head, I think, and we'll kind of see how it goes. You guys talked before I got here, but Jim Hill is here today. Jim has asked to be considered to join the committee, and of course, you know, we have a very exclusive group here, and the fact that you made it here, that was the test, and so you're in. Yes, I know. I feel good about this, and and we need. I think, given what we got coming, we need all the help we can get. But perhaps just in terms of introduction, and you may have done this before I got here, but what caused you to want to be part of this group?
Well, my son's in third grade. I was listening to the meeting, the last board meeting, and someone said that they had so many people on facilities, and that they had 5 volunteers, one more, that'd be great. So I can't get to the school a lot during the week. I work in Baltimore, so I figured this was a good way to contribute. I'm at the school a lot on weekends, so I kind of have a feel of what needs to be done.
Okay. Do you have any special talent? Can you fix a forklift or?
I'm not there yet, but I'm not there yet. Yeah. I do a lot of the gardening work. I want to build those garden beds.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for volunteering. One of the things that we have as a regular item in this meeting is the maintenance expenditure report, and so I got that today from Chris. And we've had a little bit of kind of back and forth, Chris and I, on what needs to be in this report. We get, as part of the budget report, we get a list of all of the checks that have been written, and so you can kind of go through there and tease it all out. And I'm kind of sensitive to not making Chris do too much repetitive work. She's got enough to do already. And so the genesis of this report was the spending protocol that we developed as a board policy about 6 months ago that enabled Richard and Ricardo to make certain purchases without having to elevate approval up the line, allowed Michelle to approve certain expenditures without elevating it up the line. It set this hierarchical level of approvals, making it really easy for the small stuff and fairly easy for the next level, and so the board didn't have to agree every time the truck needed a new battery. Kind of happened. And then the idea was just so that the staff would be comfortable in knowing that they were spending the money on the right stuff, and so that the board would be comfortable knowing that allowing that responsibility to go unapproved, and kind of give the checks and balances there, that there would be some monthly expenditure report that the board could look at and go, yeah, that looks like stuff they should have been spending money on. So that was kind of the idea. What I said to Chris is, to a certain extent, that's in the check report already, and so we also look at that, and we have the opportunity to look at the check report as the board and go, why did we spend this, and why did we spend $5,000 there, or whatever. So this, in one sense, just needs to cover the stuff that's not in the check report. This doesn't need to duplicate every little thing that pertains to facilities maintenance and whatnot. But she's replicated some of that in this list that you see here. And then the final item there, maintenance supplies, is a bunch of Lowe's receipts which I did not make copies of for everybody. I'm happy to pass these around. There's a bunch of different sheets and on my own copy machine. I didn't really want to make copies. So I'll happily pass these around, and you can see the kinds of things that that Richard or Ricardo were purchasing at Lowe's. Little, almost petty cash items, one thing after another, not probably petty cash, 100 here, 50 there, whatever, but it all looks like reasonable stuff to me. People like that. And I will attach all of this to the minutes of this meeting electronically. I figured you guys didn't all want a bunch of pages of Lowe's receipts. Take it home with you. Does anybody have any questions on that? Are you comfortable with the level of detail that you're seeing there? Do you think that we need any more? I will tell you that the other thing that I try to include, and I didn't get it. Yes, I did. I already gave these for the last 14. The Terry Lane Consulting, that is, thank you. Roger Swift, you don't get that. And you get his itemized invoice also as part of this. And I think that at the last board meeting, what I turned in was up to 821.14. So I'm going to got together as well. The big thing we have to talk about tonight is the new school. So I kind of thought maybe we should put that off to last and cover whatever other little things we may have. I have a question, Mel, that you may have the answer to. Did we finish sodding the soccer field, or is it still planning on half of the sod?
It is. They brought the sod over the weekend.
Okay.
They were supposed to put it in and was not activated.
Okay. I think we can make it for Saturday.
I don't know what was on before, but I haven't seen one back to the one before. And
I was going to go back there and get it down. All right, I haven't either. But at least the sod has been delivered. Okay. I will also note that, and if you guys have been part of it, if you were here on Saturday, that we got a pretty good volunteer force out to help with the garden. So it was really surprised you all came out of that alive, given the way the lines are taking over. It looks awesome, though. It's really good.
You get there early, have pressure wash your job, which is pretty easy, which is what happened to me. So.
Cool you out a little bit.
Yeah, first one up, that's one dressed.
Kudos to everybody that helped there. Just another thing to note, Jim McGinnity is trying to get a dock or a boardwalk or some sort of structure on the lake, and he's asked Sam and that, and he's talked to Michelle. I don't know what that means. She's talking to somebody else. And so, Michelle, I guess you and Jim have had a discussion on that, and you've kind of given him approval to at least investigate.
Yeah, to start looking to see what's possible.
Okay. And I've offered to help them understand the permitting requirements of that.
I think that's the hardest part of it. We talked about this over several years.
Yeah.
And just nothing about it.
So I'm still looking into that. There's the exemptions for docks, for single-family docks, but this isn't a single-family dock. There's exemptions in kind of jiffy permits for government-owned docks, which this would qualify for, but they have to be open to the public, and so that doesn't work here either. And so every time I think I've figured out what we need, I kind of get to the end of the criteria, go, that's going to work. So we may be in permitting mode on that. So,
yeah. Once I figure out the permit, engineering is not a problem. We have lots of supplies here already. Telephone poles.
Yeah. That was one of the original time that we were trying to rebuild the treehouse.
Treehouse, yeah.
So we're working on that. John, you're working on the priority list?
Yeah, so I think what from the last meeting was for me to come and meet with Michelle and understand two things. One is how are day-to-day tickets being managed on the school maintenance tickets, and also understand sort of how the projects come about. So I did meet with Michelle on Friday, and
started reviewing sort of the process today. And everything today is on paper. So the paper forms being submitted for maintenance requests, probably whoever identifies it. The ability for Michelle to be able to track and understand what's happening is very manual today for Ricardo and team to submit tickets. So while there are checklists in place, we talked about the possibility of really leveraging electronic mediums to manage tickets. And so I'm working with Ryan because he uses an online tool to track all the technical support requests that come in. So I have a meeting with him to review that process, what's available, so that we can ideally move to a full online system where all requests for maintenance would be raised through a web portal that teachers can log in, administration can log in, and say, I have an issue that needs to be resolved. I have a nail sticking out of this wood. I'm looking through the maintenance request here. This table needs to be repaired. All the standard type things that come in, ideally I'm going to read through this here and start making a master list of what would need to be in that system. That would then give Michelle the ability to understand what is coming in and what is being worked and closed and how long it's taking for those items to be worked. So that's really going to handle new issues that come up that need to be addressed. We talked about the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual type checklists that need to be in place. And based on my review of what I'll pull out of here, I'm going to have day one just sort of an Excel spreadsheet for Michelle that's going to have, it's going to be a working, living, breathing document that's going to have every task that needs to be done on a regular basis, whether it is cleaning the sidewalks of the blower, by way of example, she wants that done daily. Changing AC filters, is that a weekly, monthly task? Pressure washing in buildings, whatever frequency we identify. So we'll start out as one list that's broken down into daily, weekly, quarterly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and we'll keep building that up, and then she will be able to use that with the maintenance guys to make sure that they are getting, we're aware of the volume of what is happening. And these are repetitive things. These are not maintenance request type things. These have to be done. All of our stuff you identify for the Bobcat out there. You need to be somewhere on a list that, it's April. So right now it's going to be in throwing it on the wall phase, and I'll be reading through these here and throwing everything up on the wall, and I'll distribute this list to everybody. What else? I mean, you're here for the Dad's Club. What else needs to be on this list? And then that will be something she'll be able to both provide to Ricardo. This will probably continue to be a paper process for the time being, where there's just a weekly checklist that gets turned in. This is what has to happen based on, reports she'll print off. It's the week of October 5th. This is everything that we've identified needs to be done this week. Longer term, we'll look at getting that into something electronic. But the goal here is to take all of the standard stuff that happens, cisterns, checking the water, and just putting it all up there. So by the time we have our next committee meeting, long before that, I will be distributing. My goal is to have lists starting to be used in the next 2 weeks for her. And they're going to grow, they're going to change. So we're going to identify things that come up that we'll just add to the list, and have a working, breathing, backing document. So that's going to be the maintenance tracker. Second thing we'll be doing is all the projects. And I didn't see the project list. Was that in here too? Okay. And if you just get a copy of that to me, I'm going to put all the projects up there. And what we'll track on projects, so those are going to be things that require, it's more than just a single task thing. Not, cleaning AC. It's going to be things like the kitchen build-outs, a dock going, things for the new facility will be on there. And things we want to track around there are, when was it added to this list? What's the status of it? Has it been approved? Does it require board approval? Is it going to be a cost? What is the budget for it? What is the board? When did it start? When was it supposed to start and end? And when did it actually start and end? So we could start in our monthly board meetings, reviewing all the projects that are going on across the campus and have one centralized tracking. So, and I will be managing, these reports, Clark, and getting them to you in time for the board meeting, and we'll be able to report on everything that we've done from a project perspective. The other things that came up on that meeting were, again, we talked about Richard and Ricardo moving them to having to be somewhat hooked up to a computer. We're not going to bog their day down with things, but at least all the maintenance requests that come in are going to have to be managed through the web.
Asking or turning the paper and stuff like that.
Yeah, and what it's going to do too is, when we'll position this with them, is this is going to help make sure that you're not getting sidetracked out there. Michelle set a priority for you. These are the things that have to get done. Obviously, if there's a bathroom overflowing and you to get somebody, or there's a danger, getting a ticket. But other than that, if there's not a ticket being submitted by the staff, they shouldn't be doing it, because Michelle has to be accountable for what they're doing. And if they're, if teachers are asking for things and there's not a ticket, how do you probably, and what we'll do is eventually want to get to the point where there's service levels around things, so that when, and that's what I'm going to check with Ryan on, it is this issue, this is a 5-day turnaround, this is a 2-day turnaround, this is a 1-day turnaround, so that they're not feeling like they're being pulled in 15 different competing directions and having, 35 different bosses if somebody's asked them to do something and they want to get it done. So the longer term strategy around this is, in 3 to 6 months, is going out some automated SLAs and things like that. One thing that did come up also in the last meeting is we have to have an OSHA approved, or OSHA chemical list. Chris brought this up, and with ADP and somebody to do with our insurance.
ADP, we had someone come out and do just an inspection, tell us what we needed to work on those kind of things. Chris has the report, and she'll get it out to everybody. But one of the, that in the maintenance area, they need to have all the documents there in case of an emergency, and should be getting all of that stuff together. And just that at this point, it hadn't happened yet, and we needed to make sure that that happened right away.
Right.
So we have a company that provides that, or
yeah, I think
they just have to work with maintenance, what's there and stuff. They'll provide all the documents. When they buy things, you have the ability to get them also, and they need to do that and then start building this binder. We need to have one of these locations.
So, and I think she said Rick would come right out and walk us through it.
Yeah.
So you can walk Richard and Ricardo through it, and probably one of us should be there as well.
they are still online.
And
Online.
so that list then, is that submitted to OSHA with a report or
The
something?
way I was told is that if there was ever an emergency, a fire emergency, say on campus, that the first responders would have access to the information to know exactly what chemicals are on campus, so they know how to handle that emergency problem.
Or OSHA or something on site.
Yes.
But they will come off the entire campus and give us an overall safety recommendation and all that kind of stuff.
That includes or they charge extra for that.
No,
So is that something that they're going to do in kind of in addition to the OSHA list?
And it's the risk management department will come in and do an assessment of what risks there might be.
Is that scheduled or?
no, we just talked about that.
Well, Tom, you've made some incredible progress in a few short weeks, given how far I got in 6 or 8 months.
Well, that's what happens when there's 3 of us, right?
Yeah.
Now 4 of us. So before the next meeting, I'll distribute the list and ask everyone to add to it. And then I guess we can probably, what goal we meet with certain Ricardo.
Well, and I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's sort of a culture change here. I mean, this is having Richard and Ricardo move to the electronic process, which I mean, they've got a computer back there and everything, but I don't think that's kind of been their way of operating. I think getting the teacher to not just go, Richard, come, when he goes driving by, in the car, instead to file an electronic ticket. There's going to be a big change.
And it's going to really require Richard and Father to be able to say no, do it the right way, please. Eventually, it took the teachers a while to get in the habit when it came to the text, doing a text ticket for everything, but that has gotten so much better. This Ryan said he has very few teachers who like grab from now off stuff as he's walking around. So hopefully it'll just be, again, as everybody's on the same page, we'll get there pretty quickly.
Unless it's an emergency.
Well, that's it. And to me, if there's a health or a safety, that always just has to trump everything, and you just have to get to that.
Is there anything that the teachers could ask parents to do? And I get asked to do things, gardening or reading or stuff like that.
Don't get asked to do things like that. But I'm sure that there probably are things that teachers do ask for that could be something that parents do insist. I think that would just be teachers sitting down and kind of brainstorming that list. But I think that there certainly is a need for that.
And that's the way, once we have a list of everything that's coming in, we can start divvying that kind of stuff.
Okay. Right.
So the stuff that they don't, not emergency stuff that can wait until the data club come in and do stuff like that.
And I think we'll see with the new school in particular that there's going to be a need for us. And you may have just sort of stepped up to
Step in.
to help lead that, to do kind of volunteer coordination. We're going to have a team of painters or, a team of people doing yard maintenance work or what, all of the things that we got to do up there, stained glass repair or whatever it is. That, we've got the shelf list. And we're going to have to kind of herd the cats to get that stuff done. And so there's going to be plenty of place for volunteer work, I think, to do that. Well, but back on the electronic, I think the other really good thing is going to be it's going to enable you to get a much better idea of what Rich and Ricardo are doing with their day, and it's going to give them, I think, something that they've not had, which is the ability to kind of show that they're earning their keep. It's kind of like they're kind of busy working, but you don't know what they're doing all the time.
And with the system that has been in place for as long as I've been here, after a paper gets turned in, it doesn't come back to you. So, you hand it in, and there was never that accountability piece after, that it was looked at by somebody or whatnot. So, on all avenues, I think it's going to make everybody much more knowledgeable about what is happening here.
And I think whenever you see by electronic tracking that we've fixed the same thing 5-6 times this year, that it then kind of raises it to the level of, hey, we need to buy a new one.
Right, maybe.
So,
yeah. Or put something that just needs to be done on a regular schedule.
So that's move over. Yeah, move it.
So, nice, Dave.
All right. Before we jump into the new school, does anybody have anything else that they want to buy out? Looking for clarity. I want to mention the windows. What did they do? I know
They didn't do anything on the inside of the building. Everything was covered on the outside of the building.
So they just did the outside?
Yes.
So that just looked around the windows, taking wood rot.
Let's look back at the maintenance. I forget what it's called. It's just what the company said that they were going to do. I'll put that out and see if windows had anything, as part of what they have done.
I mean, that's like what the garden. You get 3 or 4 people to knock that.
Can you hear me, Ivana? Can you hear me, Ivana? Are you there?
Who do we have on?
Just Ivana. Can you hear me, Ivana? Okay, I guess we can move forward. Saying I'm talking, so. Okay, good. Yes.
With the historic nature of the cabin, or are we able, as the Dad's Club, to come in and replace wood rot in the windows and stuff, or do we have to?
I don't think you can put any new windows, but I think repairs are all.
I'll have to look into it because we had to be very specific when we even had somebody work on the outside. There was only a certain amount of companies that were actually allowed to come and do any work. So let me just find out, and hopefully it won't be an issue, but I would like to double check that. So
I just want to correct that straight, as long as it's just minor repairs, replacement, what's an issue?
All right. Well,
Was there anything else? Someone moves a flagpole, and Chris has to get a hold of Tito yet.
okay.
To find out.
circling back to the major project list, I think it's going to be, we're going to have our strategic planning meeting soon now, and I think that's going to be a very useful item when we sit down and you know, kind of do the vision for, you know, what's on the list to put those out in front of the board as big ticket items. And now that we're going to have a whole bunch of new big ticket items with the new school, right? You know, I think that's going to be a useful way to kind of put it all out in front of us, make some decisions about what we're going to do short term and long term there. So I think it's going to be a great thing. So speaking of the new school, did you get over and take a look at it? You know, I was pleased, seeing this for myself. All of the time driving by, and I drive by it all the time because we play softball down the street from it. And I always kind of thought it kind of had sort of a spook house look kind of to it. It, you know, the old church kind of, you know, look. But when you got inside, it was a good school. I mean, it had the classrooms. It, you know, it has an auditorium. You know, I was impressed with what we had to work with. You know, once I got inside, I think we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that it certainly is promising. And will be an improvement from where we're at now.
It was better and much bigger than I remembered it from when we went, I don't know, what was it, 2012 to look at it. So I think I must have, like, confused different places that we had gone and seen, because, well, wait a second, I thought, like, we were going to have to knock down walls, and I'm like, it's a really good size classroom. It's filthy, and it needs paint and some, you know, things into it, but nothing that can't be done. And I don't think we're going to find or could find a place that's better within the vicinity that we needed to see and everything. So the teachers were all very excited. A bunch of them came. We had a bunch of parents come. I don't know if any were there when either of you were, but it probably had 10 different families come through at different points, and good feedback from all of them.
Do we have any like major construction issues that we're going to have to deal with, do you think, before we bring the kids in? And are we going to, the sanctuary comes to mind.
Well, we don't, honestly, the sanctuary, we don't need for kids. There are enough classrooms right now for all of our classes with 1 or 2 extras. So the sanctuary, I think, is something that is going to land out, in my mind anyway, as needing to be main office, more administrative, not necessarily having to do with what the kids are doing on a day-to-day basis. So for something like that, I mean, how much do you really have to do, you know, would be used as a working office. So I don't think that's a big deal. In order to make it acceptable for the kids and the teachers, the cleaning is going to be imperative. It's just sat there for so long. It's just dirty. It needs to be painted. You know, the teachers' concerns were things like the the window-mounted air conditioners. Like, what was the purpose of them? Do we need to use them? Can we take them out? I think that the 2 things that come to my mind as being important projects to consider, number 1, in order for the kids to have a good PE area, garden, whatever that middle area gets used for, is the removal of the playground. They need to come out. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring them here and just use them here. And the second thing is something that has been just sitting at the back of my mind is we're talking about kitchen here. That has a bunch of the pieces, like it has a hood and stuff already. So, I would like everyone to consider at least having the discussions of whether or not we should be actually putting the money into the kitchen there. I think that might be a money saver in the long run for what we want to accomplish. And it would be the same one way that we're going to bring food there, we're going to bring it here. I don't see that there's that much difference in what we do, other than they already have a lot of the things that we don't.
Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't, I don't think you'd ever run two simultaneous kitchen crews, right?
No. I mean, it can all come out of one kitchen. There's no doubt. The pieces that have come up, but it's going to happen regardless, is one way or another we're going to have to transport food, which does mean we're going to have some kind of vehicle for transporting food. But other than that, whether it's this site or that site, one site would produce the food for all of the kids who are ordering, and then it would have to get there somehow.
You'd probably still have like 2 big refrigerators and that kind of stuff. Right?
Here, like
well,
you
have 2 kitchens.
Yeah, you're going to have some other. You're going to have some equipment also.
Right.
But I know that, and I don't know enough about it, but I know that they already have a hood over there,
yes.
And I know that's like $30,000 right off the bat.
Has Jill been over to?
She hasn't.
Really?
No, she couldn't. She didn't want to bring her kids in. She couldn't come that night, so she was kind of asking. Let's see if we can get their rooms and let us in one more time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what her thoughts were. On the playground, I was wondering about this as I drove away from my visit the other day. We're going to be leasing that facility with the intention that we 18 months later use the lease payment as our down payment and try to buy it. But in the meantime, we just leased it, and so I wonder if the bank is what they're going to think about us ripping all the playground equipment out. And so I wonder before we should we not negotiate this out with the bank now, and if it's not too late, say as part of our deal we want to take that playground equipment out, and then we may have to buy it from them at the end of 18 months if we decide to take up and put it out or something. But
I would be curious if there were entire rooms filled with elementary aged furniture and materials that the realtor said comes with the facility as well. So I wonder about that also, because none of it was still there.
Contents are normally, if they're furnished, they typically, they don't want to pay someone to come in and throw them out or try and sell them today, right? So that would be an interesting discussion. I think while Brian's wrapping up the negotiation, we should clear, make sure that that's
usually in business, I believe, too, it's more of a you got the freedom to do stuff to the building other than tear the whole thing down.
There's
redo all
many thousands of dollars worth of elementary tables and things like that. So it would be really nice to do that as well.
At a minimum, inventory them so we have a record of what came from there.
The playground is something that we
There's
is just in the way, or
the one is in the way. They're actually in the courtyard area there. On the back, there's a set of swings, and then on the side, there's a big play area. I mean, but not appropriate and dangerous for older kids just because they're 5 and whatnot. The swings need to just go. I've never put swings on a school campus because that's for trouble. But then there's a front playground also. So they had 2 different areas that had these massive playgrounds, and they're expensive. Each one of them is probably $20,000 to $30,000 by itself. So it would be really nice to be able to add that to whatever we get for the grant.
Yeah, it really makes a nice package over here when you combine it with the grant.
Right.
Yeah, great. There's so much to do. I mean, I just don't know which bite to take out of the elephant first. And you know which bite I can tell you. You're about to tell us.
Yeah, no, and I think Brian's, we addressed those contract things, right? I think then what needs to happen is we need to get together as a team and walk the facility and make a full punch list, room by room, what needs to be done, ceiling tiles, and just again start blowing out a project plan, try to build a project plan.
And tons of stuff like moving furniture, playground, all that stuff, a lot of stuff to do with dance clothes.
Yeah.
So the one thing that the teachers just want me to keep saying over and over and over again on their behalf is that over the years, this group of teachers, this age group, they've been asked to do a lot of things at the very last minute in regards to moving and shuffling and stuff like that. It's always been something with middle school. You know, 1 year we're going to knock down the walls, then you're going to move. It's just been crazy. They just don't want to have to be responsible for that. You know, and not that they don't want to participate, because I know that they will, and things that they don't want to have to worry that, you know, come December, they're going to be throwing everything in their pickup trucks and driving it over and getting everything.
No, I think that's something that's on the project list. Is you've got, and I've got an old project plan from when I moved call centers. But we're down in Fort Lauderdale, so one of the things on that list is moving plan, and I think that could be something too that we could probably, between the Dad's Club and just volunteer hours, is, you know, get everybody well in advance. We need volunteers this weekend, and we'll pair two volunteers up with every teacher, and you know, because there's stuff too, they wouldn't want, you know, but we can certainly need to have a migration plan so that they are not solo in the middle of their break.
And I know some of the parents have trailers like I do that are still moving a lot of stuff at the time.
Yeah. And I know one of the dads even has said that he has access to big box trucks and stuff like that. So there are a lot of people out there. It's just, it's a scary thing. As a teacher, it's a scary thing. The thought of moving halfway through the year. You know, everybody is more than happy to, because this is we're moving in a good direction. But it's scary in the fact that, you know, they're still planning, and their job is to take care of the kids and make sure the educational piece is going. So, you know, just making sure that that's what they can focus on, and we can focus on, you know, all the pieces that go with it.
Well, what's their last big day teaching? December 18th?
Something around there. Does that happen?
So it's basically 2 weeks. Break into 3.
No, there is no break.
January,
not. They go back.
The teacher's last half day is on the 19th of December.
Okay.
And then we come back, so the first day back would be January 12th.
January 12th.
December 19th, January 12th.
Okay. And what's the move date based on and all that stuff, right? So,
but we're going to have like this 3-month window from lease signing to moving in, basically, 3.5 days. Where we're going to have to, you know, we got to get a lot of stuff done. It's more than this group can handle. We're going to need our volunteers, but we also are going to have the ongoing problem with volunteers is that they all sign up and none of them come. And so we're going to, you know, we can't have that happen to us, and because of that, we're not ready on move-in day. And so I think we're going to need to connect. You know, we've got the list, thanks to Ivana, and Michelle's kind of, you know, the keeper of that list. And so maybe we can get a bunch of painters in there to paint, and maybe we can get, you know, a lot of this stuff done by the parent volunteer. But we're going to have to kind of have the backup plan where, if that didn't work, we hired a bunch of painters to come in and get it done.
Personally, I think professional painters would be better.
Cleaners and painters.
Doing that. Cleaners and painters would be better at going in and getting that done.
Yeah.
The volunteers can manage moving stuff out.
I think using the volunteers to hit the yard, hit the grounds, get the ground ready to go, build garden beds, everything that they're going to want day one functional over there to make it seem as close to what this campus has today. Can be volunteer hours, moving things around from room to room,
and tables,
and moving the playground equipment can be something.
And we're painting. You got one person that knows what they're doing, one person that doesn't. You got one side of the room that looks good, one side of the room that doesn't. Something like that should be.
And there might be some parents that have painting companies that can put kids in.
And we've got that list. Well, no, they also said they were willing to paint. They said that they were going to paint.
Yeah, but there's job titles.
Yeah.
But I think what we need to do is, as soon as the contract is done, is plan a half day walk through with a fine-tooth comb. You know, all of us in each room. You know what. You know, plug plates there. This, I mean, literally.
Yeah.
And then compile a master list, and you know, these are things that volunteers can do.
Then yeah,
These are things that you can't get done.
3.5 months sounds like a lot, but
It's going to go. So did summer.
well, that's
You know,
it.
we said
this
we
is
got all
that.
summer to do stuff.
Mhm.
We got-
But at least for the summer, some of the people that have worked here over the summer were absolutely fantastic. So at least we do have some people that we know do really good work and we're good for school.
Yes. And I really think that having done the data mining on the volunteer list, now having specific names with specific response expertise, now it's just not asking everybody under the sun who wants to come and do something. You call these 6 people and go, your name's on the list. We know who you are. And we'd like to do something with
People that signed up, I think everybody showed up.
Yeah, so that may be a whole new world for us. Now, what about like plumbing? With the bathrooms, are we going to have to do any kind of major remodeling in the bathrooms? Do you think?
I think it's still weird. In some places, you have classrooms that have adjoining doors to bathrooms, and obviously we can't have that. But I don't know what you do with that. Do you just take them out? Do you close off one door? I think there are options. But something Gigi brought up, I think we need to think about also, and that was, are there any specific coding issues that we need to know about beforehand, before we get into stuff like that? Because I don't know that piece. So I'll call her and ask her if she knows anybody I can at least contact to start giving some of that information.
Well, if we find a commercial plumber coming in and look at that, they're should know that code
The school.
or that, and find somebody with experience.
Because I didn't see anything that looked like an ADA restaurant.
There were some larger restrooms around. Like there was one because I walked in and I went, oh my gosh, and I walked out. And that was an ADA restaurant. So there was at least one, but it was in a weird spot.
But I think you're right. We need to just go through there, with a much more intensive review than we did the last time, and come up with a list of things we got to do.
And in conjunction with that, we're going to need to sort of know what your plans are for the rooms.
Yeah.
Like
the science lab,
the science lab, so they have to have running water in them. And there are 2 rooms that could easily be used that have that already in them. I think it's going to be easier than I think for some of this stuff. So yes, I think it's going to give an idea of where we're going to put them.
Teacher 1, what teacher's going where.
Right.
Do we have a blueprint?
And then I'm assuming all of the stuff at the Fort Avenue campus, all of the furniture is on the gate.
No, it's not all. Some of it was, but a lot of it was already there.
Okay.
What we'll need
what you'll need to do is we'll need to take an inventory and identify what's going to be missing and what needs to be replaced as part of that process as well.
Yeah. Right. And I understand your point about some people are getting paid, some people aren't. Yeah. But I thought that the one thing that you want to hire for was the movie. I kind of have the opposite view from what you guys are saying. When you hire like a moving company to move you, well, I mean they show up with a big truck and move an amazing amount of stuff in a really short period of time. And I mean, just from my own personal experience, what would have taken me like 200 trips from one house to the other, they come in one load and they it's gone and it's at your new house and it's 2 hours later. Well, with fragile stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other challenge we face with that is it's got to be coordinated, I think, so that the teachers are going to be involved. So today we're moving.
Well, even if they can at least tag everything and, have it done however. But yeah, some teachers are going to want to watch their things go someplace and then watch the new place and, inside the new place where other people just kind of want to walk in on the first day back and have everything ready.
I think if we get an inventory list of what has to be moved, how much big stuff is there?
Yeah.
Because that's a big point too. Like packing up, how can teachers pack up they pack up their classrooms, hypothetically, we get it moved over, then other volunteers, are they going to want to, everyone's going to be different. Do you want someone to help you pack your classroom up or not? Unpack your classroom, then once that's done, it's really now, all these desks have to go. How does that happen, which is, to your point, that's somebody we might look at bringing in,
Yeah. Or
getting a big truck or something like that.
And when you're moving your house, you understand what you do. You go into bedroom number 1 and you box everything up and you write bedroom number 1 on it and et cetera. And then when the movers come, they just move it all out and put it in bedroom number 1 when they get to the new house. And so if the teachers can do it at that level, then whether it's parents with trailers or whether it's going to be the moving company, it'll all be tagged and it should go on more efficiently. So I think it's a good idea. Anything else we can think of yet?
Well, I talked about it with Michelle. We need to probably plan and talking about maintenance and how that's going to run over there. Because now you're the building that has maintenance as part of your contract. So are you going to have a permanent team over there, a permanent person in addition to we move one from here over there and then hire a second one here?
Yeah.
Because you don't have the maintenance. I mean, right now, right, Ford Avenue, if there's a problem, you call the landlord, right?
No, Richard or part of the, I mean, the landlord does some stuff, but on a day-to-day basis, one of them are there.
Okay.
And then Robert is here part-time, so he does all the cleaning. And has to open 2 more years too.
And so the question is, we want to have someone permanent on each campus and have a floater between the two.
My hope would be, I don't think you can run this campus without 2 people. And that being that we don't know what we're getting into yet, that it would be smart to have one full-time person over there also.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why it would be any different than here. And I think we've gotten away with it not having a full-time person over. But
No, one person here is somebody's level. That's my living.
that's a good point. I was trying to figure out where the turn lane fit into this when I was out there.
It's got to be coming into that front, just past the road, when you come in off of 41. The only place you can go, that's going to be Learning Gate property, is in front of the,
Right there on Lutz Lake Front.
right where the church is.
There was a white pole that had a number for whatever was on the other side, and then there's the marquee. So it has to be right past that marquee. I can't imagine any other place.
But then, where I thought Carline was going to go, where I think Carline has been, it doesn't seem to match up with Carline.
I understand what you're saying, because the car line, in the plan that I saw anyway, maybe I haven't seen the most up-to-date one, you actually make a right-hand turn and then go into the school down the back.
Yeah, you go on the side street there,
Right.
between the fire station and the school.
But I can't imagine.
The road wraps around the back, and then they actually dropped off in the front, coming out by that little playground over by the drain.
So I don't know if it has been coming off of the playground in. We walked it a couple of times, and there are some interesting ways that you could actually do it online, because there is a way that you could have half the school going out and around and the other group going this way and then merging and coming out. There are ways to make it happen.
Who did the Carline study?
Roger.
Do you have a copy of that? You can break and email me?
Well, it wasn't. It was a turning lane study.
Right, but they showed where the traffic flow was going to go?
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
He has, and I'm sure Roger has it, because I know he has shown it to me. Roger is going to be gone. He left on Sundays, and I don't think he comes back till Sunday or Monday. He's letting me know this. So I won't be able to get anything from him until he returns.
Yeah, that'd be useful to see what that was. Because I stood up there going, how is this going to work? And I was.
One other thing I need to put on the list too is parking, the parking plan for staff and teachers. I counted 22 parking spaces plus what could potentially be another 10 on the back right side of the property.
You got to cross the street.
And across the street.
I mean, I kind of assumed that would be like faculty staff parking here. So.
Then at least everything opens to parents and stuff.
Yeah. Perfect.
And someone has to find out, I don't know how to, there's been back and forth. The realtor said that sanctuary is not historic, and there's we don't have to worry about that, but parents keep telling me that there is. So is there some place that we can get confirmation on whether or not it is or isn't historic? And it's not the whole building, it's just that sanctuary.
We had to look into that. All right. Now, are there pews and all the others?
It's a giant empty space.
I think that's pretty. Kind of like inside of the Hillsborough High School. It's way more creative.
I don't know what I've never been inside.
I've only been there once in this pew.
It's, you know, it's got the stained glass, most of the stained glass, or one in particular, I mean, the stone is broken. They put some kind of plexiglass on the outside, but not, so the inside is just kind of getting over. Got these giant chandeliers and stuff like that. All things that would be really weird to have in a school. I mean, there's other pieces that will need attention also because there are religious symbols within the building and stuff like that. That's not something that this person is comfortable like messing with. So I don't know what the protocol is for, you know, removing the religious symbols from the building. I don't know how.
I just watched the Bartolo.
They really destroyed that building.
Trash that whole church. It's gone now.
Well, and the other thing too is that, you know, we talked about during the tour, if the stained glass is going to be more expensive to fix,
All over.
you could, that stained glass worth some money. Yeah.
Probably the lighting in there also.
So if we decided not to keep the stained glass, you could sell those. I mean, maybe they're probably $30,000, $40,000 for stained glass. Yeah, I mean, you can get some. There were what, 12 or 10 or 5, I think, on each side.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and they're easily worth those stained glass ones. You probably sell for $3,000 to $5,000.
Right. Yeah, Michelle was already, you know, Craigslist things that they had these, they were like this tall, they would just be as long, you know, like they are awful. And she's like, you know what I can get for them? So even those pieces, I mean, they're going to probably would be worth something if they choose to go that route. I don't know what you put in place for us.
Well, you know, when I walked into that sanctuary, I just feel gymnasium.
Yeah.
You know, got ceilings, you know,
Like basketball,
volleyball. We just played with stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, there's now a pretty active charter school in terms in terms of program this year. And so it would be great to get involved in that. I think they need the facility to do it. It certainly didn't have the school.
Right.
You know what? And this is kind of goes beyond the school. That I wonder if we can't make them use the electrical or parking too.
You know, I was talking with that. I don't remember who it was, but I mean that is right there, and it's not used anymore.
What is
So there's a huge park
The
now
county
for all
park.
the fields and stuff.
Soccer field, football field, baseball field.
it? Right on the corner, right?
Yeah. You could just about walk there. So you could, you know, with a school van or something, you could, you know.
Well, that's why having some type of vehicle.
A van that can hold food and kids.
Right. And I know that, I mean, it does become expensive the second you put kids on it, but I do think that overall it's going to be very worthwhile for multiple reasons. Like right now, we pay someone to have aftercare over at Florida, and we don't have a handful of kids. You know, if we had a vehicle, if those kids would come here, we could just do it in one place. We could cut down on the cost for, you know, having as many staff members running and stuff. So there's a lot of ways that it would be very, very helpful.
Notre Court is very nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, my daughter plays softball. All right. We're going to want to do once the.
Do you have any idea when contracts are being looked at or signed or anything?
Did that get discussed at all in the call that I missed?
No, I talked to Brian today about notifying charter office, and he said as soon as the contracts are signed by both parties, he'll give me an ETA on it. So he was hoping, I know I thought last week he was hoping that we'd be able to do something, you know, not this week.
That being the case, should we not try to get to him before he does that and talk to him about the playground equipment, the furniture, and all that stuff, and get that on the table?
The GA stuff said it'd be good to move that equipment over here, but I don't know if we thought about that when they were talking.
Yeah. But I would suspect if that was like part of the deal, we'd have no problem with it.
Well, I'm assuming it would be listed in the agreement if it's something that they're preserving.
Right. And, you know, and even if it's a deal where we have to, like, reimburse them some cost if we choose not to proceed with this.
We'll put it back.
Well, putting the playground equipment back, like, more trouble than it's worth.
More trouble.
Well, I can give him a call and just bring that up to him. Then. Hope that's not a sundown violation.
I could call him quickly, but then you don't have to worry about it.
You want to do that?
You know what we do.
Okay. I'm trying really hard to
I think
not
that
make
is wonderful.
mistakes of the past.
I think it's a really good thing.
What was the name of the church?
Yeah.
What they
It was hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
But then somebody else took it over after them. I don't know who that was. But the realtor would know. Her name is
Put on the list.
Kelly Lamb.
What is assessing fence requirements over there? 21st fencing anyway.
Over on the, that looked to me like it was covered. Fence-wise.
On the west side of the property didn't have any fence.
You gotta help me with West.
Okay, so where the fence fields are?
Okay.
So like
There's
on the north
not a
side.
fence on that side of the
Yeah, you're right.
Mm. And there are,
house.
and there's classroom exit doors over there.
So we just something to put on our list. Are we
Yeah.
looking at fence?
Right.
Is that something we want to consider?
Because I was actually impressed at some of the stuff that actually went into the fences in certain places. So, but I didn't.
Brian had said that he was looking at, there was going to be a budget for improvements in the contract. So I think we got 100,000 was what they were looking to get as part of the.
It's going to be a loan. Yeah.
If we wanted it, if we needed it, which would fall into
right lane.
the right lane, turning
Right.
that and fix it.
And so is your question whether we can, under the current contract, put the fence in? Or is your
Can we indeed? Do we need to? Hey, can we? I'm assuming with the contract we can, but is there anything in the ordinances like you could do?
Okay, so not of the contract negotiation, do we have any that are we able to put in a fence?
Are we able to, and do we need to, as part of the consideration for? And we'll also have I believe there's a boardwalk out there, a dock out there on the other side of all that overgrown bush.
Really?
The neighbors.
Oh,
When I looked at Google Earth,
Past the bushes, you told me?
yeah, I meant to
We
see
didn't go
that.
out.
Yeah. You ought to see the, maybe you did, but the property, you see which part of the lake we own? Or it goes with that piece of property. It's not like lots tied down to the lake. The school piece of the lake is like this rectangle that shoots all the way across the lake to the other side. But it's kind of narrow, and it's like really odd. It looks like they in order to give all of those houses on the west side a piece of the lake, they moved the line over, and so you don't really have like the entire shoreline at the school going out to the lake. It's just a piece of that shoreline, and then there's this rectangle that goes all the way across to the other side. It's a really odd piece of ownership of the lake. You pulling it up?
mm-hmm.
Because when I first went out and looked at the dock that the first guy has, the first house, I'm like, that guy's dock is illegal. It's got to be over on our side. And I don't think it is. I think that, because of the way the ownership is, we got. I thought we had a riparian issue with that guy. I don't think we do.
It was Arcadia Grove Church Defense. No, you're right. It is. Okay. It is.
So, 3 times I thought I was going to say this and then I forgot, and I can remember you said you have the site plan? Or
I have
the
a
building plan?
basic outline of just the building, not the center.
That you've got classrooms in it? And what size is that?
I don't have sizes. This is all I have.
Oh, you have an 8.5 by 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was what the mold inspector.
Oh,
That was
okay.
his.
So it doesn't have room size.
No.
That's hoping we had a big one. I was going to say we need to scan that thing, get on PDF, and let everybody have it to play with. You'll find it useful 100 times over.
Is there one on the what's your site? I have rooms broken out.
I don't know.
Yeah,
We should try and get one. If not, we can do that when we.
Those are all walk through. Yeah. Yeah, the property appraiser map probably is just the outside footprint. So, all right. Anything else? Anybody think of the physical address?
207 West Lake Turn Road. So do you know that's the zip code on this?
Yeah, okay. Sure, mine. By the time I got that from my dog, that was it.
I stopped and kind of poked around, but I felt like, you got all the police cars and the fire station things. So I was just like, I'm going to get arrested in a minute.
I keep going through. They know my car already.
Maybe uncomfortable. Of course, I was wearing a ski mask. All right. Well, anybody have anything else? Or?
Yes, my wife requested that we all go walk through the bathrooms at Miracle. That's fine.
Yeah. I went through the. There's another thing that I was comfortable going through the boys' room. Didn't really want to go through the girls' room. I didn't think the boys' room was. Maybe I'm just used to.
Well, that's what I said. I'm like, boys, my wife said that the girls said, like, kind of warming.
So all the both bathrooms need to be completely, redone. I mean, the fact that someone thought that it was smart to make bathrooms white is just bad. Tiles should, eventually should be taken out because unfortunately, like in the boys' room, for girls, when no one is in there, the boys feel on the floor because that's not out. But yeah, countertops, all that stuff is ready. It was all done very cheaply at the time.
Well, I'm game to go take a look.
My wife just requested that.
Okay. Ivana, any feedback or questions or comments?
No, nothing for me. Just what your needs are in terms of the volunteer contacts, and I'll work with Michelle to pull that together.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. That list is going to be wonderful. And I guess one just quick follow-up is with 88.
I did meet with Michelle. I met with Michelle, and I'm going to come in and talk to some of the other administrators, and try and have that done before next board meeting.
Yeah, and you and I talked last week, and this week sometimes we can set up the date to do it. All right. Well, with that, I think we'll adjourn the meeting, and thank you all for coming. And I'll get the minutes put together, and I'll try and get them out to you guys to just look at the draft. And last time nobody commented back, so I assumed everybody thought they were okay. And put them off. All right, very good. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.